Welcome to the CIBSE Young Engineers Awards for 2020. My name is Ewan Rose and I will be your host for today's proceedings. We are delighted to be able to share this very special event with you despite the strange circumstances. Thank you for joining us. This year's event is historic for a number of reasons. It sees the first ever presentation of the CIBSE Apprentice of the Year Award, and it's the 25th anniversary of the CIBSE ASHRAE Graduate of the Year Award. Yes, we have been celebrating our industry's emerging talent for a quarter of a century in partnership with our friends at ASHRAE. And we will also be presenting the 12th Employer of the Year Award. This celebrates those fantastic employers who give our young engineers their early work opportunities and help them start on their exciting career paths. Because it's such a special year, we were obviously planning a huge party to celebrate, to which you would all have been invited. But unfortunately, that's not been possible. We'll just have to do it next year. So we're celebrating online for the first time. I understand that most people are doing these kind of things in their pajamas this year, but I was talked out of that. You will have to bear with us because we've never done it this way before, and there's quite a bit of technical jiggery-pokery involved. Please use the CIBSE YEA hashtag that you'll see in the top right-hand corner of the slide. This is a good way to broadcast around the world and to celebrate the achievements of the wonderful young engineers and their employers who we are honouring today. So please use the hashtag. In a moment, I'll be introducing CIBSE President Stuart McPherson, who will welcome you properly. But first, I'll give you a quick summary of how we hope things will run. This is our programme. After Stuart's welcome, we will introduce the 8 finalists in the Graduate of the Year Award. Each will give their presentations. I'll say a little bit more about how that will work just before they start. Stuart will then come back to talk about the Apprentice of the Year Awards and announce the winners. We will then hear from CIBSE Vice President Kevin Mitchell, who chaired the Employer of the Year judging panel, and he will announce those results. After that, we will have the keynote talk from ASHRAE President Chuck Gullidge. It has become a tradition of this event that we hear in the UK from the ASHRAE President, and we're delighted that we are still able to do that despite the restrictions. And then we will travel to deepest, darkest Kent to hear the results of the Graduate of the Year judging from Professor Tim Dwyer, who's chair of that judging panel. So there's lots going on. We will also be hearing from our sponsors and supporters at various intervals throughout the afternoon. But now, I would like to invite CIBSE President Stuart McPherson to give his welcome address. Over to you, Stuart.
Good afternoon, and I would like to add my welcome to all those who join us for the CIBSE ASHRAE Young Engineers Awards 2020 from wherever you may be listening. As Ewan has observed, this is the first entirely online awards we've held. I would like to congratulate the organisers, led by Ewan and Tim Dwyer, on their work in arranging the event in this new virtual format. Thank you also to everyone who submitted an entry to the Graduate of the Year category, to our new Apprentice of the Year category, which I will be speaking about later, and for Employer of the Year. Our judges also should be acknowledged for giving their time so generously to undertake the really tough job of separating out the excellent entries for these awards and managing to come to a decision on a winner. As one of the judges for the Graduate of the Year Award, I know how difficult that is. Selfishly, I was reflecting that right now I should be at the IMechE in London, looking forward to an afternoon and evening of inspiring presentations, followed by a nice buffet meal surrounded by enthusiastic young people and not so young people. You don't have to be young to be enthusiastic. But this afternoon is mainly about young people, talented young engineers. And goodness me, do we need them. If we are to make the great strides in improving the performance of our built environment that we must make in the next 10 to 20 years, these young people are essential. Without you, this isn't going to happen. We need to increase the flow of people like you into our industry through the universities and through the apprenticeship schemes. Without wishing to cast a gloom over this happy occasion, I do need to note that the COVID crisis has hit graduates and apprentices particularly hard. I hope that employers, like the ones celebrated in our awards this afternoon, will continue to support young, aspirational people. The Chancellor's Kickstart programme offers £2 billion worth of measures aimed at improving employment prospects for the younger generation. I hope that firms in the building services sector will take advantage of that and keep the vital pipeline of engineers moving. One thing we can do to encourage people in our industry is to make sure that we celebrate the talent that we have and that the word gets out about the exciting and rewarding career that this industry can offer. I'm sure that when you see the presentations coming up, the not quite so young among us will feel reassured that if we can just keep more young people like these entering our design, contracting and manufacturing companies, the future of our industry will be in good hands. Before handing back to you, I would like to acknowledge that the awards are made financially possible by our sponsors. I would like to thank all of them: CIBSE patrons, ASHRAE, IMechE, the Manley Trust, CIBSE, IDEO, Kingspan and Swegon for their generous support, and we will be hearing from some of them during the course of the afternoon. And with that, I'll hand back to you.
Thank you very much, Stuart. Those are wise words and really set the context of what we're celebrating today. As Stuart said, we are very grateful to our sponsors. Without them, these events would just not be possible. And now is the opportunity to hear from the first of those. And here is a word from the CIBSE patrons and their Vice Chair, Scott Mason.
Hi everyone, Scott Mason, Regional Sales Manager for Manufacturer Locking Valley Limited, Vice Chair for CIBSE Patrons and Graduate of the Year 2016 runner-up. The Graduate of the Year Awards is a fantastic annual event, and despite the challenges posed by all the COVID-19 restrictions we face, this great opportunity for so many young engineers and employers is still going ahead. So it's definitely been a year of firsts, but specifically for this evening, it's the first time the Young Engineers Awards is going to be hosted in an online digital format. And it's also the first time there'll be an Apprentice of the Year category. So this is one I would have applied for myself if I'd had my time again. I joined the industry as an apprentice, so I'm rooting for every single one of you. One major focus of patrons is improving recruitment and retention of engineers for the building services industry, and also nurturing young talent. So this is just one of the reasons this event is a highlight of the patrons calendar year. The inclusion of a vocational-based category as well is a brilliant one. I'm very excited to see it. So thank you to all the participants, fantastic employers that make this event happen with your applications. But also thank you to all patron member companies for your continued support. It's your support that allows us to continue to co-sponsor initiatives like this. So let's continue to make our industry successful, diverse, sustainable and exceptional. Good luck everyone. I'm looking forward to the evening. Thank you.
Great to hear from Scott. Scott was a runner-up in these awards just about 4 or 5 years ago. So very appropriate that he has the first of our sponsors' words. I would now like to introduce you to the Graduate of the Year Award. This award has been going on, as I said, this will be the 25th year. And it's always presented a platform for young engineers to show their talent and show just how well they can present their ideas and engage with an audience, and maybe win you round on an argument. So it's a great opportunity. It's a tough task. They all talk about they all cover the same topic, and they have a strict 5-minute time limit. Normally I have to get my stopwatch out at a time like this, but no need for that this year because we've got the software to do it for us. So as I said, just to remind you, you're looking for how they engage with you. You're looking at how convinced you are about their argument and how they address the topic. And the topic is, if we look at the next slide, you'll see it there. I think you'll see the finalists first. So these are our 8 finalists, and the topic they will all be addressing, that's them there, all 8 come from a tough selection process to get to this final. And they're all going to be discussing this topic. How should the role of a building services engineer evolve to meet the challenges of a new normal? And as I said, they have 5 minutes each, and I will introduce each one in turn. So without further ado, here's our first finalist in the 2020 CIBSE ASHRAE Graduate of the Year Award. Julie joined Foster & Partners in 2018 as an environmental design assistant and has worked on several large-scale infrastructure projects. He has a master's degree in architecture, a postgraduate diploma in green building technology, and an MSc in urban energy from Newcastle University, where he won the prize for the highest marked postgraduate dissertation. He's also the winner of this year's Kendale Travel Bursary. So, ladies and gentlemen, over to Joey Owen for our first presentation.
An hour running on the treadmill takes us nowhere. Basically, it is running in place. Alternatively, an hour of outdoor run takes us on a journey from a point A to a point B. Same time, energy, and efforts invested in both scenarios. It is just a matter of choice. Following the same line of reasoning, with every major disruption, humanity is given the power of choice. Yes, the choice to adapt for change. No more running in place, but moving forward. And today's pandemic should mark the start of a transformational journey. Hi everyone, I'm Joey Owen, and today I would like to explore with you this journey and share insights on a role evolution from building services engineers to people-centered services engineering. At the foundation of this transformational journey is undoubtedly our health and well-being. From a nice-to-have, this pandemic reintroduced health and well-being as a must-have. Us, engineers, have been always emphasizing the needs of the occupants, from fundamental safety and comfort to mental well-being. During the heat of the pandemic, our support advisory role has been mutating to a pivotal leading role in the design industry. Yes, the route for change is steep, and COVID has already pushed us down this route. However, today's new normal challenges are providing us with real-life opportunities to design solutions. New normal challenges? Digitalization. If 2020 has taught us anything, it is that the future is digital. Digital intelligence will amplify human intelligence. Us, engineers, should embrace digital precision, from 7D BIM modeling to generative design processes, to enable flexibility and value creation. Big data. Without data, you are blind, deaf, and in the middle of a freeway. Us, engineers, should enable collaborative platforms to share data for insightful data-driven decision-making, bridging the performance gap between design and operation. Industrialization. 2020 showed us what is possible. In China, a 2,500 beds hospital was made operational in weeks. 2 weeks on site versus 2 years business as usual. Us, engineers, should enable industrialization for safe, resource-efficient, and rapid deployment. The future of building services is off-site, prefab, modular, and automated. As for collaboration, 2020 forced us to break down work silos and become one integrated force. Virtual platforms enabled collaboration on a scale not previously possible. Us, engineers, should enable knowledge exchange platforms and embrace cross-disciplinary talks as early as possible in the design process to address knowledge gaps, complex challenges, and place innovation at the heart of the design. After all, no one can whistle a symphony, and it takes a whole orchestra to play it. Everything said, today's new normal challenges are here to accelerate the route of change, moving from a survival minimum to a resilient strategic optimum. Along the way on this transformational journey, this crisis shouldn't take our eyes from the pressing climate emergency. During lockdown, carbon dioxide emissions have been reduced by 60% in London. This pause from business as usual may be just the opportunity from lockdown to reform. Us, engineers, should embrace this opportunity and embark on a much more ambitious retrofitting program. Whereas all eyes are on the new build, around 78% of the built environment emissions are associated with the existing building stock. As an influential and powerful voice, engineers should guide other professions and encourage our clients to plan a climate regenerative future. Ending on a positive note, we are already embracing change, and the proof is us, virtually meeting today with hundreds connected across the globe. Engineering for people is a skill to benefit people and the planet. Thank you so much for this opportunity and for your attention. Let's embark on this transformational journey.
So that was Joey, and now over to Tom Burton, who is representing Fairheat and the University of Cambridge. Tom spent 4 years at Cambridge studying for a master's degree in chemical engineering, where he developed his interest in reducing energy consumption, carbon emissions, and water use. His role as a graduate engineer at Fairheat involves working on the design of new heat network systems and delivering cost and energy saving measures to clients. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Burton.
Hello everyone, my name is Tom and I'm a graduate engineer at Fairheat. I'm very excited to be here today and talk about how the role of the building services engineer should evolve to tackle the challenges of the new normal. So firstly, what do we mean when we say the new normal? Now obviously at the forefront of everyone's mind will be the ongoing coronavirus pandemic and the impact this has had on how we interact with our buildings and our surroundings. It's highly likely that the impacts of this pandemic will last far longer than the pandemic itself. It's important that we continue to evolve and adapt the ways we work in response to this. However, there is another new normal, one that predates coronavirus and with potentially longer lasting implications, and that's climate change. The increasing prevalence of extreme weather events in recent years, such as wildfires, droughts and flooding, has shown that climate change is no longer something to plan for in the future, but something that's happening now as well. We are moving in the right direction, as UK emissions have fallen in recent years as the grid is decarbonised. However, in order to meet national and international targets, we need to make widespread transitional changes in the ways that we work and operate. This pandemic has shown that we can move quickly and drastically in response to global emergencies, and it's important that we adapt this approach in our response to climate change as well. Now, for building services to decarbonise, the prevalence and the efficiency of our low carbon technology needs to rapidly expand. Building services engineers are in the perfect place to drive this, and this should be done through an active role in education and collaboration, both within the industry and beyond. To give an idea of the rate at which the industry needs to expand, heat networks currently supply about 2% of heat to the UK, and this is expected to grow to about 18% by 2050. Now this is going to leave a large skills gap, which in order to fill, we should play a far more active role in education of students at university. We should also look to widen the degree pool from those which are traditionally associated with building services. For example, I studied chemical engineering at university, and building services wasn't mentioned in the context of my degree, despite heat accounting for approximately a third of all UK emissions. Now within the industry, we need to adopt a far more collaborative approach, both with other engineers and other stakeholders throughout the development process. Clients, architects, installers and operators need to be aware of and understand the technology we're proposing in order for us to propose efficient and realistic strategies and execute these on a consistent basis. Now throughout this, we can't forget the role of the residents and the end users. We must continue to listen and adapt the ways we work and design in response to their needs. And on the flip side, we need to ensure that what we do design and install is understood and used correctly by our residents. Now, whilst this is all important, there's only so far that heat can go to decarbonise on its own. Therefore, we should look to transition to a smart energy system in which heat, building services, transport and electricity work together to all help each other to decarbonise. Now, this will involve far more collaboration again, both within the industry and beyond, and it's important that we reach out and make these links now so that we can all help each other going forwards. We should also look beyond our borders, as this technology is being developed elsewhere in the world as well, such as in Denmark and Sweden. It's important to communicate and collaborate internationally and share learnings, research and best practices to help us all on this journey. So to conclude, building services will face several challenges in the near future as we learn the extent to which the role of buildings has changed in response to this pandemic. However, we also need to remember the other new normal, and that's climate change. For building services to play its role in decarbonisation, the buildings that we design and install must be accepted and cared for by our residents. And in order to do this, we need to be active in education and collaboration, both throughout the development and the operation parts of these buildings. Thank you for listening, and I'd like to wish all the best to the other finalists as well.
That was Tom. Excellent stuff from Tom. And now we're going to move on to our third finalist, who is Laura Catania. Laura graduated with a first-class degree in mechanical engineering from Imperial College London, where she reached the Dean's List during her final year. Since joining Foster & Partners in September 2019, she has worked on a variety of projects, all centred on sustainable design systems and energy optimisation. She's been collaborating with architects, engineers and designers. Laura's work is focused on mechanical HVAC systems as well as thermal and energy modelling. Over to you, Laura, for your presentation.
One of the first things that comes into my mind when I think about how the workplace has changed since the start of the pandemic is that in order to maintain productivity, a quick adoption of remote working was a must, and is likely to become the new normal for most of us. I can say with confidence now that I've been working from home for half of my career. But being physically away also means that everything feels a bit loose, disconnected, and no design is relatively easy to freeze due to uncertainties in the market or in the client scopes, which has added a degree of complexity. However, the wait-and-see approach will not work. It's not enough to simply provide the necessary tools without structural adjustments and in-depth security changes, as there is a risk of loss of efficiency and frustration among employees and stakeholders. So COVID-19 has been a catalyst for digital transformation, and we need to make sure that the digital transformation becomes a catalyst for better communication, which should be quicker and much more frequent. The new normals engineer is communicative, resilient, but also empathetic and understanding. It is essential to find the appropriate mental disposition for this. And perhaps at this point, that disposition comes also as a result of our management of fear. There was a moment in time when fear has prevented us from further underestimating an already underestimated threat. And it wasn't only useful, it was justified by the fact of not knowing the extent of the situation in which we were. But today we are, in two words, aware and equipped. In a new context, we should stop being afraid, not because the virus is less insidious, but because fear has stopped being the most beneficial emotion. This situation of uncertainty ties in with the will and the urge to go back to business as usual. These two aspects, danger and necessity, must be considered together. To say reopen safely is very inappropriate in this sense. Worse, I think it's even counterproductive because it gives those who believe in it the false impression that protection can come from the organizations themselves. But security is never such an epidemic, and efficiency, the maximum we can aim for, is a difficult combination of infrastructure, personal responsibilities, and protocols. Our expertise is needed more than ever now by architects, politicians, the media, and it is an opportunity for us to go grab it, breaking down that sensationalism and translating it into engineering strategies. And this is where another challenge kicks in, as we will have to be a step ahead of everyone all the time and think about how people are going to move around the spaces, how they're going to interact with each other, and how we will be able to provide good quality according to new regulations. We have now taken on a bigger role in the design team. The new normal is not just a result of the pandemic, and I can't stress this point enough. It includes our perception on environmental impact and the climate emergency, which sadly has been a new normal since the late 19th century, as well as the perception on equality and diversity, regardless of the pandemic's aftermath. The common point between these three things is that their solution can be sought in the implementation of strategies, and some might even be easier than you think. It's not enough to be resilient and empathetic. Our role goes beyond efficient system design. The real challenge is acknowledging a change of mentality and start addressing the problems by making an impact, engaging with school, families, communities. It is much more than a technical role. It needs to expand far beyond that, from the individual to the collective level. And to be successful in the long term, a structured approach is needed, together with a significant investment to transform organizations' culture. An article I read not too long ago by Robert Livington said that a quick fix to stop the pain caused by these challenges, COVID-related or not, is the easiest path. But that's akin to asking a physician to write a prescription without first understanding the patient's underlying health condition. Enduring long-term solutions usually require more than just a pill. Organizations, societies, and people must resist the impulse to seek immediate relief for the symptoms and instead focus on the disease. Otherwise, we run the risk of a recurring ailment. And I would like this to be my leaving message. Let's try not to take that quick fix, but rather continuously interrogate ourselves. Only then we will be able to evolve into incredibly efficient engineers and wonderful human beings.
Great, thank you, Laura. There was plenty of food for thought there. Jennifer is a graduate electrical engineer at AECOM. She graduated from Heriot-Watt University with an ME in architectural engineering in 2018, before joining AECOM's Edinburgh office and later transferring to St Albans. Jennifer is a graduate member of CIBSE and is also the General Secretary of the London CIBSE Yen Committee. She's a STEM ambassador and has spoken to young people and students of all ages at a number of events, explaining engineering as a potential career and promoting the building services sector. Ladies and gentlemen, Jennifer Cox.
Hello, my name is Jennifer and I'm a graduate electrical engineer at AECOM. We have been asked to discuss the challenges of the new normal due to the extraordinary circumstances we currently find ourselves in and how our role will have to evolve with it. So the first question I asked myself is, what is the new normal, or how will it look? I believe it will look different for everyone. For me personally, as a building services engineer, it will mean a change in focus. Because of increased home working and focus on health and well-being, certain sectors will see a reduction in work from the office environment and commercial sectors, whilst effort moves towards data centres and public buildings, such as healthcare. Institutions have already released specific COVID-related design guidance, with more likely to become standard basis of design. I have found already in my work in vertical transportation that we are having to consider the movement of passengers both in our current installations and future designs differently. We are having to re-evaluate the occupancy density of a space. In the long term, the lifts can be a valuable tool in understanding the number of people entering a space, and this, alongside a smart access control system, will allow for the building's services to perform for the occupants present. Building engineers will need to design the space to be adaptable and to respond to the user's needs, and the inclusion of smart technology as standard can help with this. Designs need to be able to adapt to personal usage. This may be a more localised space with task lighting, temperature control, and even self-cleaning equipment. All these spaces become more collaborative. As people are beginning to favour working from home and companies begin to reassess the use of their office space, these may become more team spaces. In this case, the electrical requirement needs to change too. Basic smart technologies such as PIRs can facilitate this, but systems need to have an improved relationship with the building management system. Designing a smarter space allows for a more adaptable environment and helps to manage the energy demand on the user side. But we cannot forget the existing building stock. There are currently 4.8 million commercial buildings in the UK, and 80% of buildings in 2050 have already been built. These need to be smarter, and we need to refurbish these buildings to become more energy efficient. Now, this new normal is not limited to the commercial sector. People will begin to expect to see more from their homes too. Over the past 6 months, we have seen a rise in residential electrical consumption, and as people now expect to be able to work from home comfortably and effectively, the way we design residential buildings will need to adapt too. This new normal and people's reliance on their buildings being smart cannot come at the cost of our current climate crisis. Our industry has been working towards becoming more sustainable, but this is our opportunity to do it now and to do it better. We are in a unique position to drive the new normal within the design team, and we as building services engineers need to be recognised for our ability to include sustainable measures as baseline and normalise the use of more efficient equipment, more intelligent building control systems and renewable energies. As an electrical engineer, I've seen that some simple sustainable design measures such as PIRs and specifying energy efficient systems and lifts aren't always included in designs as standard, instead being used more as a checkbox exercise for BREEAM credits. Moving forward, we as building services engineers can guide design teams and redefine the new normal for our role. We need to be pushing for changes in legislation that creates a new standard that can be applied through cradle to cradle. Our role should evolve to become prominent at every stage, and collecting data from buildings as part of a post-occupancy evaluation will allow us to understand where our successes are and where we still need to improve. What worked before won't work now. This move to a new normal is a positive challenge for our role. It will allow us to work to a new narrative. Our role should evolve to design adaptable and smart buildings with sustainability embedded in our design. This will become our future, and so if we can start now, everyone will benefit. Thank you.
Thank you to Jennifer. Jennifer was the fourth of our 8 finalists, so we're halfway through. I hope you're all keeping your own score sheets so you can compare your results with what the judges decide. And as we move on to the second half of the Graduate Award presentations, I'm delighted to introduce Rochelle Kirby, who I believe is our first ever nominee from New Zealand. Rochelle works for WSP and graduated from the University of Auckland with a Bachelor of Mechanical Engineering degree 2 years ago. She was a finalist for the New Zealand Green Building Council Future Thinker of the Year Award. And as the leader of the Auckland Pathways Committee, Rochelle organises events that promote personal and professional growth for the young professionals at WSP. She also encourages participation in the Wonder Project, which is a free programme run by Engineering New Zealand designed to get school students excited about science, technology, engineering and maths. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from New Zealand, Rochelle Kirby.
Hello, my name is Rochelle Kirby and I'm a graduate mechanical engineer from WSP in New Zealand. I graduated from the University of Auckland in 2018 with an honours degree in mechanical engineering. While you're listening to me talk, it's probably about 3 o'clock in the morning here in New Zealand, so I'm most likely watching this event at home in the lounge wearing my dressing gown and slippers. For those of you online who don't know much about New Zealand, we are a relatively small country in the southwestern Pacific Ocean. We have a population of nearly 5 million people and about 29 million sheep, so that works out to approximately 6 sheep per person. We are also well known for our national rugby team, the All Blacks, our beautiful landscapes, and of course, the Lord of the Rings. There are a lot of things about New Zealand us Kiwis are proud of, including our low carbon electricity production with about 80% coming from geothermal and hydroelectric sources, our beautiful wildlife and our thriving ecosystems. However, we still have areas that we can grow and improve, and I'll discuss these areas while I answer the question posed, which is, how should the role of a building services engineer evolve to meet the challenges of the new normal? I believe that everyone will have a different idea about how we can evolve to meet the challenges of our new normal. Therefore, I want to answer this question from my perspective as a graduate mechanical engineer working and living in New Zealand. One of the immediate challenges facing us is achieving fast-paced design in a largely online environment and finding ways of using technology to work effectively in teams to promote virtual collaboration. We need to remain accessible and open while working remotely, ensuring productivity remains high and familiar connections between colleagues aren't lost. Having the option to work remotely is hugely beneficial for caregivers of small children, people who have long commutes, and individuals who have important appointments during the day. Not to mention, the reduction in the number of cars on the road is noticeably decreasing the levels of commuter-related carbon production. Therefore, working remotely is a huge part of our new normal, and we must find a balance between giving people the flexible work arrangements they like and providing opportunities for important face-to-face interactions. I believe that the production of effective online tools will be expedited due to the overwhelming demand, which will also help us meet some of these requirements. As a graduate engineer, I know how important it is to shadow people and learn on the job, and it's become apparent that working remotely can detract significantly from graduates' technical training. Moving forward, I think awareness of this issue should be raised and efforts made to ensure that graduates are properly trained with a combination of online interactions and in-person training where appropriate. With the world changing so rapidly, it is extremely important to develop a diverse pipeline of students in engineering. This begins with introducing students to engineering as a career path while they're at school. Engaging students and sharing our experiences can help them make decisions about their future and give insight as to whether engineering is something they are passionate about. While a lot of things are uncertain around the globe at this point, we can reassure students that the world will always need engineers. The spaces and offices where we work will need to adapt to our changing needs. As more people work remotely, the need to have office spaces large enough for all members of staff will become redundant. We can adapt to having agile working spaces that promote collaboration and reduce the overall footprint of an office building. This could lead to some exciting opportunities for building services engineers to design innovative spaces that align with the needs of our changing world. During New Zealand's lockdown period, we experienced a measurable reduction in the level of carbon production, primarily due to the lack of activity. While this lack of activity is not sustainable, I believe that there are people who will see this as an opportunity to learn, research, and potentially renew their enthusiasm for designing and manufacturing sustainable solutions for the built environment. While we focus on the economy and supporting those who have been negatively impacted by this pandemic, it is also important to not let sustainability become an afterthought in our major decisions. Ultimately, I believe that embracing this evolving way of life is how we will overcome its challenges. We can look at this strange and unknown as an opportunity to grow into an industry that is more effective, compassionate, and enthusiastic than before. Out of this crisis, we will see our people step up, and I am looking forward to seeing what the people of the building services industry do next. It has been a privilege to present to you. Thank you for listening, and good evening, good afternoon, or good morning to you, wherever you are. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Rochelle. Now we have Khalil Mboob. Khalil is a graduate mechanical engineer born and raised in London. He says it was never a childhood dream to be a building services engineer, but he always had a passion for maths, art, and buildings. He first started moving towards our industry by studying architecture and environmental engineering at the University of the West of England. Khalil said it was an amazing opportunity to be appointed as a mechanical engineering intern at Bureau Happold, which led him to change his degree subject to building services engineering. He went on to secure a first-class honours degree and returned to Bureau Happold as a graduate mechanical engineer. Over to you, Khalil.
What is the new normal? Evidently, the foundations of the new normal is the COVID-19 pandemic. Without a cure or vaccine, the solutions to limit the spread of the COVID-19 has been to apply social distancing, input restrictions, heightened hygiene requirements, and remote working. This has impacted our society tremendously in how we think, work, socialize, travel, and study. How we work, perhaps the most detrimental. With over 50% of the UK's workforce operating from home, there are thousands of unoccupied buildings. This is largely due to the wider infrastructure not being able to withstand or limit the cross-contamination. This impacts building service engineers, creating numerous additional challenges to our role and shifts our focus when designing systems. In my opinion, a building services engineer's role is to ensure that the design of a building makes for a healthy, functional, and efficient and comfortable environment. Designing to meet these parameters in the new normal, where conditions are constantly changing the way we operate in the buildings, can prove challenging. How can our role evolve to meet these challenges? We need to focus on making our new residential and non-residential safer and smarter and more in accordance to social distance measures. There is a need to revise design standards to help mitigate the spread of bacteria and limit airborne transmission. We must go against our traditional focus in designing new builds and work into our current existing stock, making them safer, smarter, and more in accordance to the measures limiting the spread of the virus. This will help us be better equipped to tackle the current conditions and be better prepared for sudden lockdowns. Institutions such as CIBSE, ASHRAE, and REVA have all released guidance on what action to take during this pandemic. Unanimous guidance is on increasing fresh outdoor ventilation, which is key to limiting users' exposure to high concentrations of airborne pathogens and thus airborne infections such as COVID-19. Building service engineers will have to keep refreshing their knowledge to keep up with the challenges of the new normal. They will have to define the safe spaces in a building, such as non-residential buildings. All spaces that require recirculation and have no access to outdoor air may be deemed not safe under the new normal working environments and may require air cleaning equipment. Increasing ventilation at higher volume flow rates could produce possible negative effects on other internal environmental conditions, as changes in these levels can affect a user's comfort and productivity. And simply put, if a user is too cold, there's going to be an increased demand for heating. The combination of increased ventilation and increased heat loads will have significant effects on the carbon emissions. Due to the new normal, larger heat loads will also come from heating empty spaces in lower occupied buildings. Therefore, this is a chance for building service engineers to focus on making the home space a more efficient place to work and thus increasing the remote working percentage. Due to the numerous damp issues in UK homes, we will need to help design them to true fabric efficiency, equip them with better controls, sensors, daylight, indoor air quality, vent systems, boiler systems, and broadband information technology. An increased remote working percentage would have a direct impact on lowering the carbon emissions on various industries, with reduced peaks on our national grid due to less people commuting and travelling at popular times, whilst improving home to meet wider sustainable targets. Building service engineers will also have to grow in their knowledge of occupants' mental health and well-being. The new normal presents increased times of isolation, so the user's mental state is a huge focal point, and we will need to understand this now so more than ever, how our designs will impact the productivity and happiness of a thoroughly diverse community within the UK. Some domestic situations cannot be planned for, so a realistic long-term solution is to plan for both non-remote and remote working. Therefore, when designing non-residential buildings, not only will we have to be more sensitive to users' need for social interaction, but we'll have to define the safeness of it, also whilst designing to limit cross-contamination, which can be done if buildings have better controls and technology, such as people flow modelling, touchless and automated systems, all to help the companies monitor and track and trace staff and develop one-way systems. It is my belief that the evolution of the building service engineer will be to take the lead on a lot of post-occupancy tasks, liaising with all the estates teams, educating them, advising them on their builds. On new builds, I believe that there will be more of a dependency on the design team to lean on us on earlier stages, and I feel that our role will have to evolve to be the design team leader. We will be employed at the same time as architects on projects. Our role will focus more on the social implications of the new normal to limit aspects of sick building syndrome, while simultaneously assessing pros and cons of remote working and seeing how this impacts the wider infrastructure whilst also affecting the nation's sustainability targets. This will perhaps trickle into how building service engineering is taught and the graduates it then produces. As a recent graduate, I feel proud to be a part of the cohort of the building service engineers that will evolve from the traditional role. And that's something that excites me about the industry that I have joined.
Joshua Vasudevan from Loughborough University. Having completed his BEng in civil engineering, Joshua's passion and love of sustainability and well-being encouraged him to start a low-energy building services master's degree at Loughborough University. He graduated in 2019 with distinction and won the AECOM prize as the highest performing building services student. He won an ASHRAE paper competition at the Society's Orlando meeting and won first prize in the ASHRAE ISBD competition last year. He first worked as a research intern at Loughborough's Mitsubishi Electric R&D Centre on the monitoring and control of indoor environmental quality, which has now led to a fully funded PhD from Mitsubishi. Joshua also mentors Loughborough University students and actively participates in CIBSE's Young Engineers Network. Ladies and gentlemen, Joshua Vasudevan.
The world has changed, and so have we. Hi, I'm Joshua, and I'm here to address how, as a building services engineer, we should evolve to tackle the new challenges that we are going to face in this new normal. Reimagine what the new normal will look like: social distancing, wearing face masks, frequent hand washing, self-assessment, etc. In the built environment, the new normal is to create a safe workspace for the occupants. Stepping out of their comfort, safety and protection of their homes brings in a lot of concern to the people. As a building service engineer, it's our responsibility to instill confidence and ensure the safety of the occupants is taken care inside the building. A year ago, in all my designs, my main criteria were sustainability, reducing energy consumption and providing comfort, and good IEQ according to the wellness and CIBSE guidelines while satisfying the building regulations. We are all doing the same. Climate change has always been the main challenge for building service engineer. Today, as a building service engineer, we have an additional challenge to consider: the global COVID-19 pandemic. Now, we must design a building which not only tackle the climate challenge, but also stop the spread of airborne virus through better ventilation in buildings and transport vehicles. Why is it the responsibility of the building service engineer? People spend 90% of their times indoor, and especially during the pandemic, the time we spend indoors drastically increased. People need air to breathe and live, and as a building service engineer, we are responsible to give cleaner air inside building and transport medium. When the pandemic was found to be airborne, we, ASHRAE and CIBSE, came out to create guidelines for operation of the buildings. Our profession has again come in highlight in front of the public, providing safe and healthy buildings by providing hot water, clean air in our everyday activities. Give people confidence to come out of their homes and go back to their offices and use public transport, retail shops and restaurants and grow the economy. This is currently an additional challenge added to our daily job. In future, there will be other challenges to our main challenge of tackling the climate change. And our utmost priority is to provide a safe and comfort environment. How are we going to face this challenge? One of the way is smart and intelligent building. As much as we are in a COVID era, we are also in the era of data. Every industry is evolving towards Industry 4.0. We have witnessed the power of data across all domains. Data and technology are the two things that we need to adapt. Data is the new fuel, and buildings need to be designed, maintained and operated by data-driven intelligence. We need to combine health and well-being, energy, AI and digital twin to our design tools and operation phase. We need to make use of devices like their smartwatches, Fitbit, mobile phones to collect their health and comfort level in the environment and try novel ways to incorporate it in the design and operation phase. The use of thermal cameras has been proven to be very useful, especially during this pandemic. For my research, I use thermal imaging and occupant skin temperature to develop an AI model which can be linked to the building energy management system to adjust the indoor air temperature automatically to provide better air quality and comfort inside the building. If I was doing this project now, I had to consider social distancing, more fresh air and occupants wearing face masks in addition to the old principles, and regulate the operation of the building to create a healthier indoor environment. The building needs to adapt and react by itself in real time for upcoming challenges. We need to create a smart and intelligent building which uses the modern AI technologies to learn from previous data and future data to create a healthy, comfortable indoor environment and also a net zero energy building. The main challenge to adapt to this technology is to convince the investors and clients. The government affairs people of our community should discuss the importance of this with the government and motivate them to create policies to adapt to smart and intelligent buildings. As a building service engineer, my main aim is to encourage young engineers to join us and understand the importance of building services engineers. I am proud to be a building service engineer who always being challenged to design to achieve more sustainable and safer indoor environment that does not cost the earth and will help to grow the economy. As a building service engineer, the satisfaction feeling that you get while going to sleep that you have created a healthy and safe environment for the world is invaluable. As a community, we have to work together to achieve that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to Joshua. And as you can see, our next finalist is Michelle Wang. She is going to be the last one, but definitely not the least. After gaining her BSc in Architecture and an MA in Environment, Politics and Globalization at King's College London, Michelle joined Horley as a graduate sustainability consultant in 2018. Since then, she has worked on a number of projects, including most recently a large office fit-out for a European bank. Michelle was invited to sit on the advisory committee for CIBSE Build to Perform, where she promoted visual communication as a key skill young engineers should develop. She delivered a paper at the CIBSE ASHRAE Technical Symposium last month, She is also the youngest member of the industry think tank, VA. Ladies and gentlemen, Michelle Wang.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for having me today. My name is Michelle Wang, and I'm a graduate sustainability consultant at Horley. To give a quick introduction about myself, I was born and raised in Hong Kong, and I came to London for university. My first degree was in architecture, when I realized that I wanted to learn more about the environment and urban politics. So I did a second degree, a master's, in environment, politics, and globalization. After graduating, I joined Horley because I wanted to contribute to the built environment from a sustainability perspective. My current role involves doing environmental and well-being appraisals, like BREEAM and WELL, and energy and thermal modeling for a wide range of projects across different sectors. On today's topic, how should the role of building services engineers evolve to meet the challenges of the new normal? I'd like to start off with a quote from British writer Deborah Levy. She wrote, "It doesn't take more than 3 months of living to discover that we're all connected to each other's cruelty and to each other's kindness." I find this particularly poignant for the time we live in now, for the new normal. From climate change and the pandemic, we've seen how our actions and inactions contribute to each other's environment, health, and even personal freedoms. The realization that we're all in this together and we're all affected by each other's actions, to me, is what the new normal is about. And the new normal will force us to collaborate even more than before. We'll see all those involved in design, planning, regulation, use, and management of buildings come together and work towards a zero-carbon, biodiverse built environment that creates social value and enhances our collective health and well-being. But in order to get there, I think we need to look within our industry first. We have a built environment that operates in a fragmented way, where design responsibility is often divided between numerous consultants, contractors, and subcontractors, and communication is often not strong enough. It makes it difficult to work effectively towards a common goal. One of the contributing factors to this is the way we've been educated. Not only are disciplines taught separately, we're also not equipped with the skills needed to work together and the skills needed to tackle the challenges of climate change. If we take a step back, we have regulations and policies that don't speak to each other and don't speak to the challenges ahead. We see this in the outdated building regulations that still support fossil fuel technologies even after declaring a climate emergency. So how should we evolve to overcome these obstacles, to meet the challenges ahead? I think the key lies in effective collaboration. Speaking from personal experience, my architectural education certainly did not prepare me to have conversations with building services engineers. Disciplines were taught in different languages, and we only begin to learn each other's language when we work together. Even in practice, there's often a lack of transparency in what each other's doing. The solution to this, I think, is a platform that enables sharing and learning. An example of this is a Design for Performance initiative, or DFP. It's a fairly new initiative in the UK that follows the principles of Neighbours in Australia. It encourages the collaboration between built environment professionals to really scrutinize and understand energy performance during both design and operation stages. In doing so, it helps us take a huge step towards closing the performance gap, so often the result of fragmented delivery of buildings. Another successful example of collaboration, I think, is LETI, the London Energy and Transformation Initiative. I think it shows that professional knowledge can be powerful, and we can make a difference in the policy framework that we operate and live in. The success of LETI has already paved the way for other similar initiatives like DECLARE and Architects Climate Action Network, all featuring interdisciplinary collaboration to lobby for better policies against climate change. So going back to the question posed, in the new normal, building services engineers will become ever more prominent as society looks to us for expertise when our concerns for health and well-being collide with the climate agenda for low-carbon buildings. In doing so, I think the role of building services engineers will go way beyond being just technical experts. We should be strong advocates for a more collaborative approach, which really focuses on outcomes rather than outputs. The rate of change demanded by the pandemic in the way society functions has shown that actually we're highly adaptable and capable of change if the stakes are high enough. The new normal will force us to work together, and it's great to know that the foundations for successful collaboration are being laid right this moment. I'm hopeful for the future ahead, and I think building services engineers are well positioned to tackle the challenges of the new normal. Thank you for your time today.
Was Michelle Wang giving our final presentation of the 8 finalists. You've heard from them all now. I'm sure you've all got your own favourites, but you're going to have to wait till the end to find out from Professor Tim who the judges decided was the winner. So I would now like to reintroduce one of our sponsors.
Good evening all, I'm Josh from Swegon, and I want to say thank you to the team at CIBSE for doing such a great job of putting together this event digitally, online, for the very first time. We're absolutely in unusual circumstances at the moment, and now more than ever I think we are talking more and more about air quality and the value of building services and the value it provides to the wider public and society in general. The talent on display at the Young Engineers Awards is always reassuring, and it's great to know that the future of the industry is brighter than ever. Winners past, present, and I'm sure future are absolutely testament to that. So enjoy your evening and take care.
Thank you very much, Josh, and thank you to Swegon. Swegon have been sponsoring these awards for more than a decade now, so we always appreciate their support. So now, in a moment, I'd like to turn back to our CIBSE President, Stuart McPherson, who will introduce the first ever CIBSE Apprentice of the Year Awards. And after talking a little bit about it and explaining it, he will introduce the finalists and announce the results. So over to you, Stuart.
Thank you, Ewan. We now come to our all-new awards category. Apprentices are a vital pool of talent for the building services industry. To support and recognise the contribution of building services apprentices, CIBSE decided to launch the CIBSE Apprentice of the Year Award. The institution is working with training providers in colleges and universities delivering apprenticeship courses and with employers to provide endpoint assessment and routes to professional membership and registration. This initiative recognises the investment that building services companies are making in apprenticeships to create future engineering talent and innovators. The entries for the award required input from the employer and the apprentice. The employers were asked, why would your apprentice make a good CIBSE Apprentice of the Year? They were asked to give examples of what their apprentice had achieved academically and in practical terms. Each apprentice produced a short video responding to the question, why the role of a building services engineer is a good career. We received an impressive response from our first time, and the entries were eventually reduced to a short list of 9 finalists. The judges used the entry form and the video to decide the winners. Our judges are to be congratulated on their work. The chair of the panel, Vince Arnold, is a CIBSE board member and came into the industry as an apprentice himself. There's an interview with Vince in the CIBSE Journal where he talks about his apprenticeship journey, and I commend that to you. And on the next slide, we see our 9 finalists. First place is rewarded with a £500 cash prize, second gets £300, and third place £200. We would like to thank Bob Wilkinson for his contribution towards the prize money for these awards. Many listening will remember Bob from his roles at FETA and the Rumford Club. We are now going to see a video featuring our apprentices talking about their work.
Building services is an exciting and innovative place to be right now because there is so much focus on the Internet of Things and sustainability.
No matter where you are in the country, in the world, has new challenges which require innovative solutions.
As you can see, the project is just a hole in the ground at the minute, but eventually that will become a fully furnished building and fully functional building, which for me is just surprising every single time.
What I think the best thing about being in this role is the feeling of reward. that you get from the work that you do.
There isn't any substitute for like working in a team, doing the job day in, day out.
Building services engineering can completely change the future for the construction industry, and it's an extremely rewarding career to have.
We make the building feel good, so from the ventilation, the heating, the electricity, the lights.
We have a profound responsibility in ensuring we continue to improve the quality of people's homes, their workplace, and where they socialise.
In the end, you're helping a client to achieve their project aspiration and goals while making the building as sustainable as possible.
Our whole world is buildings, making such a difference, not just to people's lives today, but for the years to come at the same time. And leading on from that, this whole idea of sustainability is coming at us much faster, and climate change is a real problem nowadays. So to be part of an industry that's tackling that problem every single day in everything we do, we're always thinking about it. I think it's such a good feeling to know that I'm going to be a part of that. So, and I can say I'm making a difference. And I want to make permanent change to the world.
For the past 6 months, I've been working on Battersea Power Station, which is the largest construction project in Europe. And I've learned so much in 6 months, even with us all working from home for the past 4 of those. It's just been a wonderful experience to see how extremely inclusive the environment is on site and amongst the design teams and the trades. It's just so fantastic to see, and to be a part of such a pioneering industry is a wonderful thing.
As an electrical engineer who specialises in healthcare and mainly NHS, I have the privilege of working alongside the end users, including clinicians, nurses and support staff, to form a design for a hospital that works for them. I do really feel like I can make a difference to people's lives and actually contribute to saving lives. Being a building services engineer is an exceptional career where you can make a difference in so many ways. I'm helping to provide a better future by educating our clients and peers to always go the extra mile in terms of carbon reduction in a socially responsible way. The approach we are taking is pushing the industry innovators and suppliers to come up with solutions and improve technologies to meet this challenge. I'm proud to be an ambassador for apprenticeships, and I believe that a career in building services engineering truly is for everyone. Too many girls believe engineering is just for boys, and I'm really determined to change that.
So, congratulations to all our finalists, and special congratulations to George Field and George Suddery on 2nd and 3rd place. But the winner of our first Apprentice of the Year award is Megan Whitbread from Troop Bywaters and Anders. Well done, Megan. I hope that circumstances will change in the not too distant future, and I'll be able to meet you and as many of our young apprentice finalists as I can at some point. For the moment, I can tell you that I'll be having a wee dram to toast your success in Edinburgh tonight. And now we have a message from our sponsor, CIBSE.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, we're immensely proud to be sponsoring the CIBSE Young Engineer Awards 2020. We at CIBSE Heating have supported the CIBSE Young Engineer Awards from the start. It means a lot to our business, as we're keen to play a part in encouraging more young people to embark on a career in this sector. We at CIBSE are also supporting by developing new low carbon products for heating and hot water services to help towards the UK achieving its net zero carbon commitments. We wish everyone participating the best of luck, and I personally am looking forward to your presentations. Thank you and best of luck.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Stuart, for taking us through the apprentices. That was hugely impressive and shows you that the future is in good hands. And congratulations to all our apprentices. And a great milestone for CIBSE, that's the first year of this award, first of many. We now go back in time a little bit, because it's with great pleasure but I am able to introduce the chair of judges of the Employer of the Year Award, because the chair is Kevin Mitchell. He is now CIBSE Vice President. For those of you whose memories go back far enough, will remember Kevin as the first ever winner of the Graduate of the Year Award, way back in Harrogate all those years ago. So I'm going to hand over to Kevin just to pay tribute myself to those employers, because without the employers, our young engineers can't have these fantastic careers. And Kevin, you're a testimony to somebody who was a young engineer and has had a fantastic career so far. Over to you, Kevin.
Thank you very much, Ewan, for that great introduction. Yes, Harrogate does seem a little while ago, but it's still fresh in my memory. Great times. So thank you very much. And now in the 12th year, the Employer of the Year Awards highlight the achievements of firms in supporting and encouraging young people entering our industry. The awards have 3 categories based on the size of the employer, and in addition to the 3 category winners, there is also an award for the overall winner. We want to thank all of the employers who entered the awards this year. Your dedication to promoting young engineers continues to inspire us, so thank you very much. But before moving on to announcing the winners, I would like to recognise and thank my fellow judges for their hard work and dedication in reviewing the entries, in discussing the merits of the submissions, and ultimately, and it did take quite some time this year, to come to a consensus on the winners. Very tough job, and thank you very much for your hard work. We have Lucy Pemble from ICF, Scott Mason from Lochinvar, and Simon Steed from the PMM group. Thank you very much, guys, for your support and hard work once again this year. Collectively, you make quite a challenging job really enjoyable. So thank you very much for that. So straight on to the small company category. And this category is for companies with fewer than 50 employees. This category had the highest number of entries for any category, and the judges noted the agility of astounding agility of small companies to embrace a wide variety of initiatives that support the future of their young engineers, and we found that really inspiring. The finalists in this category are In Tandem Systems and SI Seeley and Associates. And I can announce that the winner of this category is In Tandem Systems. There we go. Now, In Tandem Systems' internal code of practice focuses on introducing all new recruits to the whole spectrum of BMS, so they can see firsthand the potential career pathways within their organisation and also the wider building services engineering sector. This applies to their apprentices, adult learners, undergraduates, postgraduates and experienced workers, and it's spearheaded by the Managing Director. So many congratulations to In Tandem Systems for winning the small company category. I understand that a certificate is heading on its way to you as we speak. So moving on to the medium category, which is for employers with between 51 and 300 employees. The finalists in this category are Troop Bywaters and Anders and Elementa Consulting. And I can announce that the winner in this category is Elementa Consulting. The judges noted Elementa's clear vision for their organisation, and under the leadership of Managing Principal Brian Goldsmith, the company empowers and invests in young engineers to achieve and progress. And that came through in bundles in their submission. So congratulations to Elementa Consulting for winning this award, and thank you. Right, now we move on to the large company category, which is for companies with 301 employees or more. The judging panel was impressed by the commitment of the entrants in the large category to young engineers acquiring and sharing digital engineering skills, an area which is so important for the future of our profession. We were also impressed by the innovative way that the large companies adapted to continue to deliver training throughout periods of lockdown. Again, really great to see companies still investing in people in challenging times. The finalists in this category are Hawley and Cundall. And I can tell you that the winner in this category is Cundall. So Cundall stood out because of their dedication to an inclusive and diverse workplace, supported by their 3 structured early career path entry points of trainee, apprentice and graduate. And this enables them to attract junior talent from diverse backgrounds, and they bring with them a range of experience, which is obviously fantastic and very healthy for our industry. So many, many congratulations to Cundall. Well done. And now, finally, for the Employer of the Year awards, we move to the overall winner for 2020. And of course, the finalists are the 3 category winners, and you can see them on the screen. And I can announce that the overall Employer of the Year 2020 is In Tandem Systems. So congratulations to In Tandem Systems for being the overall winner this year. The first line of the In Tandem entry says, In Tandem strives to work with young people to develop their passion for building services engineering and specifically building management systems. The judges agreed unanimously that this passion certainly came through really clearly in your entry, and we would like to congratulate you on winning the overall Employer of the Year Awards 2020. So once again, on behalf of the judges and CIBSE, I'd like to thank all of the entrants for taking the time to tell us about how you are supporting the development of the next generation of talent for our industry. Your contribution to the future of our industry is truly fantastic. Thank you very much. And I think now I hand you back to Ewan for the rest of the programme.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Yes, and very, very many congratulations to In Tandem. In a moment, I'll be introducing the ASHRAE president, but before that, a word from our sponsor, Kingspan.
The CIBSE Young Engineer Awards offers a wonderful opportunity to recognise the hard work of young candidates and employers alike. Supporting the awards remains a clear priority for our team at Kingspan. We recognise that there are huge challenges facing the building services industry, particularly as we move towards a zero carbon built environment. We also recognise that today's young engineers will be tomorrow's industry leaders and that many of these challenges will fall to them. We're proud to offer our support to CIBSE and to all of the individuals who are rising to this challenge.
Thank you to Kingspan. We really much appreciate your support, and thanks for being with us once again. Now it's a great pleasure for me to introduce you to this year's ASHRAE Presidential Keynote Address. It has become a tradition of this event from the very, very beginning that we here in the UK get an annual talk from the ASHRAE President. And as I mentioned earlier, when we first started the Graduate of the Year Award, it was very much in partnership with ASHRAE, and that tradition has continued. So with great pleasure, I now introduce ASHRAE President 2020 to 21, Chuck College.
I called my grandfather Don. He was born and raised in northern Italy. Don immigrated to America as a young man with his mother and sister in pursuit of a dream. His example has always inspired me to have the courage to embrace change. Don was the consummate engineer, machinist, and farmer. He taught me how to farm the land and put food on the table. Plow, soil must be prepared and configured. Plant, the seed we sow, turns into the crop that grows. Maintain, what we grow needs continuous attention. Harvest, reap what you sow. I learned that you can't cheat the natural process. There is no harvest without plowing, planting, and maintaining. Engineering and construction, E&C, is a lot like farming. Plow, preparation requires assembling the correct team. Plant, the outcome we desire needs a well-defined path. maintain, continuous improvement is implemented to drive value, harvest, built solutions that exceed expectations are delivered. Yes, the E&C process is no different than nature's own. We can't cheat this natural flow. Why should we care about plowing, planting, and maintaining within our ecosystem? Here's why. We can differentiate ourselves from the competition, identify ourselves as the innovators, improve our profit margins, attract and retain a digitally savvy workforce, deliver value. Our evolution to digital maturity can deliver this harvest and more. Before we explore the digital path, let's reflect on how poorly we have managed our crops. First, our current workflows are ripe with waste. Looking for information, engaging in conflict resolution, dealing with mistakes, and performing rework all impact the bottom line. Second, E&C is a flat ecosystem. Data reflects that we are not very productive. Sadly, our annual productivity growth has only increased 1% over the past 2 decades. Stagnation is costly. Third, our ecosystem remains one of the least digitized sectors in the world. We allow knowledge to go dark. Dark knowledge becomes lost knowledge. And finally, we are shackled to the analog age. Over many decades, we have perfected the dance of the silos. Risk and liability keep us from optimizing the whole. We have so many touch points. We continuously recreate knowledge. We rarely consider cost and schedule as inputs to design. We rely on paper for everything. We excel at fragmentation and the weeds of waste. Let's look at our current state from another perspective. What do owners want their harvest to be? They want us to resolve issues virtually before they become physical, reduce the level of unknowns, provide better cost schedule certainty, deliver a complete knowledge base, deliver something that works. These are not onerous expectations. Somehow, our industry has managed to lose track of the harvest. Improving our harvest begins with altering our view on the execution of work. For many of us, work is a place to go perform tasks. We go to work on a project, finish work for the day, and go home. What if work itself was redefined? What if we shifted from task to higher value activities? Prepare yourself. A new vision of human engagement awaits work, workforce, and workplace. Imagine a world where we break down work silos and become one integrated force. In 3 steps, we can make this our new reality. Step 1 of our transformation requires proper preparation via lean collaboration. Preparation must always keep value discovery in focus. Beneficial impact is best realized when captured early. Effort that occurs later in development has minimal opportunity to impact value. Lean processes create better customer experiences. Our ecosystem needs to adopt a lesson from manufacturing. That which does not add value is waste. 6 principles of lean illuminate our path. By shifting from design, bid, build, flow, we can unleash the power of collaboration. Lean Integrated Project Delivery, or Lean IPD, was created for this purpose. Execution of Lean IPD requires new perspective. Consider, there is one narrative. Risk and reward are shared. Decisions are value-based. In all phases, nothing is done until it should be done. And yes, design is no exception. Proper preparation will reveal all aspects of planting the correct crop. How we maintain that crop defines how bountiful our harvest will be. Step 2 requires embracing digital technology. Digital technology is creating vast amounts of data. We must figure out a way to connect all of this knowledge. The evolution of the Common Data Environment, CDE, is warranted to manage information, a single source, single truth lighthouse. The CDE platform sets the table for all portable knowledge. Virtual design and construction, or VDC, is a process that moves us from static drawings to 7D BIM models. We are making the transition from static geometry to dynamic information. Intelligent objects contain knowledge. Changing an object anywhere becomes an integrated change everywhere. Printed documents will no longer be the primary representation of the project. The model becomes the database of all project knowledge. Generative design affords objective-based integrated building design at our fingertips. Picture utilizing an augmented strategy to automate design development. Algorithms can test hundreds of variables in thousands of iterations. Humans still define the boundaries and goals, but software handles comparison. Airflow patterns are vital. Simple throw patterns and arrows on 2D drawings do not reveal truth. Tools such as computational fluid dynamics, CFD, allow us to visualize thermal impact, understand the path of air, compare ventilation strategies, simulate thermal comfort, and demonstrate ventilation effectiveness. By connecting sensors to a digital platform, we can create a virtual mirror of our physical asset. This digital twin allows us to collect real-time performance data, provide an evolving profile of past and current behavior, employ analytics to mine the data lake, searching for trends and patterns, identify actionable intelligence. Now consider what the power of this insight yields. We have a connected tool for tuning performance. We transition from reactive to predictive response. Drones provide invaluable support logistics. Thermal mapping can be performed around an entire building envelope. Scanning via light detection and ranging, LiDAR, delivers precise point cloud maps of surfaces and complex geometries. We no longer need to search for paper and attempt to recreate what was built. Technology captures the truth. Augmented reality, AR, can take model data and project a precision reference in the physical world. Virtual insight allows us to see where work results should be performed. Our third and final step moves our journey off-site. Designed for manufacture and assembly, DFMA strategies, or modular, challenge where work is physically performed. Why decouple workflow? Parallel work leads to shorter schedules and reduced overhead. Vertically integrated supply chains drive costs down. Automation reduces human and material waste. Precision enhances quality control and reduces rework. Modular requires us to think differently about system design. Transport logistics influence layout. Standardization enables production efficiency, and on-site logistics determine interface. Modular is a scalable expression. In its simplest form, we can prefabricate basic assemblies to support just-in-time flow. Let's increase scale. Unitized skids can be built, tested, and commissioned and validated, offering complete MEP setup. Super skids, rooms, and floors can all be imagineered. Picture a world where central plants are delivered to the job site. And yes, complete buildings can be modular. Let your takeaway on the DFMA narrative reflect. Work results are no longer tethered to start to finish thought. We have decoupled the sequential supply chain. Welcome to the future. Collaboration, value, digital, and offsite are changing our ecosystem. Our harvest is realized when we implement technology to improve our productivity. But how do I deliver a bountiful harvest? Well, implement a corporate digital core. Work, workforce, and workplace must be connected. Commit to a digital culture that expands appetite for risk, encourages experimentation, invests in digital talent, and expands collaboration skills. Adopt lean as a core philosophy. And finally, connect with ASHRAE and CIBSE members and resources. Industry 4.0 and the digital age of connection are here. Our world and industry are changing dramatically by force and maturation. We must transform our societies to be digital beacons for our ecosystem, find our internal value and eliminate waste, prepare us to be innovators in a digital world. Join me in preparing, planting, maintaining, and delivering our bountiful harvest.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Chuck. That was great to hear. Lots of fantastic food for thought there, and many things for our young engineers to think about as well. So thank you for that. And we're so pleased that we've been able to keep this tradition going that we always hear from the ASHRAE president at this event. And thank you for joining us. So before we move on to the final part of our event, we're going to have another message from one of our sponsors, and this time it's from Ideal.
On behalf of Ideal Commercial, I would just like to say how very proud and honoured we are to be sponsors of this year's CIBSE Young Engineers Awards. It goes without saying these awards are so important, as it provides the opportunity to celebrate and give value recognition to the rising stars of our industry. It's a huge shame we cannot all be together to celebrate all your achievements like in previous years, but I think we've all grown accustomed to this new way of operating. So although we cannot applaud this year's winners in person, we can certainly do so remotely. So I, along with my colleagues from Ideal Commercial, wish all the finalists the very best of luck in this year's Young Engineers Awards, and we will be raising a glass or two this evening in your honour.
Thank you to Ideal Heating. Thank you for your support, much appreciated. Yeah, there's quite a lot of virtual glass raising going on at this event. It's a shame we can't all be together, but I'm sure we will be soon, and we'll look forward to all catching up and networking again properly. Well, now it's the moment you've all been waiting for. It's time to find out who has won this year's Graduate of the Year award. It's a huge privilege for me to still be working with the chair of judges, Tim Dwyer. Tim and I have been partners in crime on this event for a quarter of a century, which is a scary thought. We've never argued, have we, Tim? And over to Graduate of the Year, chair of judges, Professor Tim Dwyer. Over to you, Tim.
Thanks, Ewan. I really am so pleased to join with you all today of these 8 graduate finalists. Together with Ewan, I've had the privilege of sharing the organisation, chairing the judging and honouring our graduates for 24 years, but reaches back to a very different world that was 1996. In that year, over 25% of UK electricity was generated from coal, with under 1% for renewables. Today, 30% was none from coal, resulting in carbon factors half that of 1996. And if recent pronouncements are to be believed, we will soon be heading to practically zero carbon electricity generation. In fact, it was only yesterday that Next Era Energy Inc., who are the biggest world producer of wind and solar energy, became more valuable than the once the largest public company on earth. These are changes that in the first year of our Graduate of the Year award would have been inconceivable and will change all our futures. In the glorious old Swan Hotel in Harrogate, on that grand occasion in 1996 for a Graduate of the Year that was contested by 10 finalists, the high standard was Kevin Mitchell, who had recently completed an MSc in Building Service Engineering at London South Bank University. In that simpler world, Kevin's presentation was just to address what I would gain from attending the ASHRAE winter meeting in Philadelphia. in a strongly contested competition. Kevin won. The rest is history. He is now CIBSE Vice President, having worked around the world, and is a Divisional Director and Global Practice Leader in Building Services Engineering at Mott MacDonald. Ewan and I naturally consider that Graduate Year Award gave him that key extra ingredient that in some small way has further accelerated his professional development and his enthusiasm in the design and operation of a built environment. 24 years ago, the judges included ASHRAE President Jim Hill and CIBSE President Jeff Brundrett. The enthusiasm and support of the senior officers and members of both ASHRAE and CIBSE was as important then as it is today. A networking opportunity for each of the 24 graduates. So let me just introduce this year's judging panel, who have generously given their time and experience to consider our 8 finalists' presentations. And just let me reassure you, they've had an opportunity of seeing these presentations in full and not just during today's broadcast. Our first judge, ASHRAE President Chuck Gullidge, enthusiastically carries put to the proceedings. Our second judge, as a current graduate of the year, grasped this year's opportunities with a wonderful zeal and passion and carried those forward into her judging process. CIBSE President Stuart McPherson, well, we're really grateful for Stuart's input, and he continues the thread of keen and engaged presidential involvement. And finally, Margaret Manley, representing the Manley Trust that exists solely to encourage interest in STEM subjects amongst young people and to promote engineering education, and has generously provided cash prizes for today's finalists. By reaching this stage, the graduates have already proved their bona fide in terms of academic activities. The judges have based their assessment on the graduates' communication skills as demonstrated in their presentations. And so I'm really very excited to announce the results of the judging of the 25th CIBSE ASHRAE Graduate of the Year. A really challenging task, as I'm sure you'll agree, as all 8 graduates are working to go far in leading our industry to meet the demands of the new normal and to celebrate opportunities afforded by change. For his captivating reimagination of a new normal, third place goes Vasudevan, who is currently reading a PhD at Mitsubishi Electric R&D Centre Europe at Loughborough University and wins £300 from the Manley Trust. Well done, Joshua. And for his absorbing presentation, explain our futures are just a matter of choice. Second place goes to Joey Ayon of Foster's and the Universities of Lebanon and Newcastle, provided by CIBSE patrons. And in first place, I'm pleased to announce that for her very practical call to pull together, to adapt industry practice and influence society for everyone's benefit, is Jennifer Cox of AECOM and Heriot-Watt University. As 2020 CIBSE ASHRAE Graduate of the Year, Jennifer will undoubtedly be successor to Laura Luckhurst and the 23 graduates preceded her. And for Jennifer's prize, she will travel to the USA and attend an ASHRAE meeting in the near future, as circumstances permit. And for the 5 runners-up, Tom, Laura, Rochelle, Khalil and Michelle, They will receive £100 provided by a Manley Trust. To you all, your presentations were so impressive and a real joy to watch. So thank you for joining me today and watching the graduates perform their presentations. It has been great to join with you. And I'll pass back now to Ewan.
Thank you, Tim. It's been great, a great honor. It's the 25th winner. Congratulations to Jennifer, and we hope you'll be in the USA sometime next year. Obviously, we'll have to come back to you with plans. Everything's changing, everything's up in the air, but congratulations, what a wonderful achievement. So it just falls to me to say the final thank yous. Thank you to everybody who's taken part. Thank you for all your hard work. I particularly like to thank the CIBSE team who have worked with us so hard to put this together. It was very tricky doing it this way. We all have a lot more fun when we're all together in person, but it's been great that we've been able to do this, and it's a real learning curve for me too. So thank you for that, guys. I particularly like to thank Flutura, who is new to the team and was a real big support to me personally over the few months leading up to this. So thanks to Flutura, thanks to Lucy, Richard, Claire, and Pom, who we worked with very closely. Thanks to all the CIBSE people that we have worked with over the years on this. My final big thank you will have to be to Tim for all those years we've been working together, and to ASHRAE for all their support over the years. But really, it's been one of the big highlights of my career is meeting all those wonderful young engineers over 25 years. Quite, I would say, the most rewarding thing in my working life. So thank you to them. Many of them have become friends over the years, and we've got a wonderful alumni of former winners and finalists and runners-up, many of whom we stay in touch with, and we really value them and their input. So thank you to you all for joining us online. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you were excited and reassured by the sheer volume of wonderful young talent coming into our industry. That's what this event is all about. Thank you for attending, and hopefully we'll see you in person in 2021. Thank you all, and goodbye. See you next year.